Hello and welcome to another episode of me talking and you listening. This is quite a strange setup that you have no idea what it is. I am laid in bed in the spare room of my house while my babies are in my bed because they've taken it over. So actually you may hear one of them come in because sometimes they wake up and I'm not in bed with them and they come to find me. So I did actually have the foresight to bring my podcast microphone home. So I'm hoping the sound quality is quite good, although I'm literally laid in bed. Sorry. And I wasn't tired before switching us on. I just feel relaxed now, chatting away to you. And that's one nice bit of feedback. I don't know if I've said this yet, but some people are saying, it's just like shooting with a friend, or it feels like just having a conversation. Actually, this lady did say having a conversation with a very intelligent friend. Thank you very much for that feedback. And other people just saying, it's just like I'm sitting there just chatting with a friend, the way you talk. So anyway, huge vibe in that respect today. I'm just laid here, but I do have a podcast mic right over my face, but my eyes are closed, and I've got I might do a selfie actually after to show you what it looked like. I'll stick it on my Instagram stories. Anyway, this podcast I don't think will be very well listened to. I don't know. Do you know what? I would love it if those of you even not affected by this topic would share it around, raise some awareness of it. This topic of men losing their hair. I put this out on my Instagram story. Can't remember. It was when I did an ask me anything question box, and someone said, when did you shave your hair? How did you feel doing, or something or other? And I just said, actually I was really self-conscious about it, and I don't think it's a topic that's spoken about much. And I got dozens and dozens of messages, mainly from men, but from a few partners of men who had lost their hair or whatever. And I've actually got some questions. So the guy who asked the question saw it. Instagram sends you a notification now, I think, when your question is replied to, posted on a story. And he was like, thank you so much. It'd be great if you spoke more about this. So I asked him to send me 5 or 6 questions if he really wanted me to, and he did. So I will also, that's one reason I've got my blue blocker glasses on, because I will have to glance down at my phone. Oops, hopefully that's still recording. Yes. At times to see his questions. There they are. But yes, so many people talking about how it affected them. And actually, I've just remembered one woman. You're not supposed to say female if anyone wants to be as woke as I am. I got taught that female is dehumanizing because it's could be any species. It's funny actually, people don't think I care about offending other people. Tangent. And I do actually try to change the way I speak. The problem is you will offend anyone. It doesn't matter what you do, you will offend someone. So you might, that saying, so you might as well just do what makes you happy, right? But I think in certain instances, you can pick the better of the two. And even just making a decision, giving a crap, because then you could be high and mighty, right? When you get a Karen or whoever, having a go at you, you can go, well, actually, here's the deal, Kaz. But one of the things, sometimes when you say this woman, it can sound a bit, some people are like, oh, why are you saying this woman? And actually, like, well, what else am I supposed to say? And some people, these super woke, annoying people on the internet, like, oh, you can use like ladies. And I've said to my staff, because I actually shouted to a couple of my staff, 2 females, quite young members of staff, girls, come in here. And then I got messages like, oh, you shouldn't call them girls, blah, blah. And then someone was like, you say ladies, right? And I said to my staff, this is the thing, right? People on Instagram was like, oh, give their friggin' opinion. Like, no one asked you, Karen. And so I actually asked the people in front of me who I was talking to, would you prefer me to call you ladies or girls? And they were like, ladies sounds creepy as hell. And I was like, good, that's exactly how I feel. Ladies. Anyway, geez, this is a mega tangent, right? So, females dehumanizing. And so this woman, lady sounds alright, actually, I think. But this lady said that she lost her hair through cancer. And it was a massive blow to her confidence and her identity and all these kind of things. And I think quite often, because very few women choose to shave their heads, we can sort of think, oh, well, of course for a woman, or like, of course because of cancer and chemo. But actually it's no different in taking the gender thing out of it, losing your hair, right? Because it's not voluntary, it's against your will. And but I do think it's probably more stigmatizing for a woman, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the male version of this, and actually some things really, really popped up for me, and that's that people comment on it a lot. And I think one of the reasons I've chosen to do this podcast is just to raise a bit of awareness. Like, I don't know how much this will get shared, how many thousands of listens it will get, but even I just think a lot of people who follow me tend to be quite nice people, quite good people, the kind of people who would try to slightly adapt the way they are to not, people who go, yeah, I'm just one of those people who say it how it is. It's like, yeah, cool, you're a gimp. Like, you know that you've got a chip on your shoulder because basically loads of people get offended by you and no one really likes you. So maybe just don't always just say it how it is, and actually just be kind sometimes. I feel like a lot of people who follow me aren't those sorts. And so I thought, yeah, I'd just bring this to the front because, and even some of it, me living this, I didn't fully realise it, but how much people comment on the fact that I don't have hair, and a lot to begin with in particular. Now, one of some of the questions that I had were like, actually someone also said this to me, because I was like, I really struggled with it to begin with. And they were like, but are you okay with it now? And I was like, well, of course I am. Like, what do you think? And they're like, well, it's only what you show on Instagram. I was like, oh my goodness, get a grip. I'm the most real person on Instagram. But I love it now. And one of this guy's questions, sorry, picking up my phone again, was this. Do you wish you did it sooner? I can't remember if that's the question. Maybe it was someone else. But, I do wish I did it sooner, a lot sooner. And that doesn't mean I didn't struggle with it massively to begin with. Like, I think it suits me now. And obviously the change at the time. So I'll tell you my story. I had receding hairline for a long time. Probably when did it start? Maybe 18, 19, I don't know. But it wasn't such an issue then. I didn't really notice it. The thing I think that really got me was thinning. Receding hairline I didn't really mind. I think it was when it started to thin and you could see through my hair to my forehead that I really started to become self-conscious about it. And I did everything I could to try and undermine that. And actually, one of his questions... No, this was someone else. Asked if I'd tried to do anything to prevent it. And yes, I did. In fact... I'm just going to go on Instagram real quick as I have got my phone here, because I've just remembered. I'm not going to name him, but he's quite a well-known individual. He probably wouldn't mind me naming him. Oh man, I've put my phone on airplane mode. Sorry. I feel incredibly unprofessional right now. Okay, cool. Your own experience and how it felt. Maybe when did you decide it was the right time? Did you consider any other ways to prevent it? I'm receding and currently doing my best job to hide it, but I imagine eventually the shave will come. Cool, so I'm glad I didn't name him because I don't know if he's happy with me saying that. So I don't know when I decided it was the right time, right? It was a long time ago. I think it just got to the point where I was unhappy with it, and I said to my partner at the time, and I think to my best friend, one of my best friends, who had taken the plunge to kind of trim his hair. One of my issues, I'm going to say this, is I've never grown very good facial hair. Even now, I'd want a more full beard. There's an admission for you. I don't really care. Like, it doesn't make me like self-conscious or anything, but it's like I'd like to be loads more muscular and I'd like a more full beard. Doesn't mean I don't like the way I look now. So he has a really excellent beard, and so it kind of suits him. Now that's one thing I will say. I don't know whether this fits appropriately in the podcast. For me, I'm like, I wish I'd grown a beard a bit sooner, or tried to, because I felt like that completed my look without having hair. But then, there's people out there who look class with no hair and no beard, but I just don't think I'm manly enough, right? I have a bit of a baby face. If I shave my beard off, I have such a baby face. So I don't know. I just kind of got to that point where I just wasn't happy. And my hair had been a big part of my identity in my teenage years. I had boy band hair, a sort of side-ish parting, I guess. I used sun-in sometimes. I had this very blonde... I'll have to post it on my Instagram. You can see it when I was a kid and whatever. Anyway, so it was a big deal for me. And losing my hair. So the point being is, when I eventually shaved it off, I don't think I cried. Maybe I cried. No, I didn't cry. But I was super, super... I actually got my partner to do it, I think, but I don't think she even really realised. But I was super, super down and reserved. And I basically didn't want to go out for a few weeks. And when I first walked into the gym, I felt weird. But honestly, people were super, super kind to me. I keep saying super. People were like, oh, you've got a great head shape for it. Which you don't... I'm like, really? Wow, cool, thanks. There's always the typical blokey banter. And it didn't affect me too much, but it was a huge paradigm shift for me. And you know what? The initial part of it was the final year of having really receding hair. And one of these questions was, I'm 6'3", so I never got it, but making fun of height and making fun of bald people appears to be the same. Why shame people for things they can't change? I'm all for making fun of people's decisions, but things that they can't change as an adult doesn't make sense. And yeah, it is a very something that as society we're very, very happy to take the mickey out of, and no one really defends. And in a time where some people are trying to be more kind, I don't think, and the number of messages I got from people saying it really, really got to me. And actually, do you know what? I got a message from one guy, and I went on his profile. This guy looks cool. Like he looks super cool. And he said, but in his message, and he looks like he'd be confident and all this jazz. This is why obviously Instagram's a highlight reel when it's just pictures rather than videos. I don't mean videos about content. I mean like videos like I put on my stories, just chatting about life and whatever, and this kind of like this podcast. But he was like, I go through stages. I go through some days where I'm Googling all sorts of ways to get my hair back, and other days where I embrace it. And I am not and haven't been like that. But I think it's just worth bearing in mind, like I haven't had that experience. There are people out there who clearly are going through that. So just understanding that it's a bit of a crappy thing, right? And I don't really know. So like this podcast, okay, I've raised some awareness already. Where else am I going to go with this? At what point should someone pull a trigger? I appreciate it's person dependent. Did someone suggest it, or was it an internal decision? I think probably progressively talking about it more and with those around me, and it was an internal decision, but I maybe felt supported in that decision. Obviously, if you've got a girlfriend or a wife or partner or whatever, you chat with them more often than not, so I think that was it for me. And I do remember saying to my friend Rich, I was like, and he was super supportive, and he was like, I've got some hair clippers, I can lend them to you, blah blah blah. Even kind of talked me through the process, I think. Not that it's it's super simple, but he just made me feel normal about it. So get a friend like Rich. Did you tell people before doing it? What were some people's initial reactions when you showed them? I've kind of talked a bit about that. But I think probably, yeah, I was mega self-conscious. And I think one bit of encouragement for anyone out there thinking of doing it is once you do it, at least for me, and even for that guy who was being self-conscious, he needs someone to say to him. In fact, I'll go and message him. In fact, I won't be able to find his message. If you're listening to this, reach out to me. Now, this message is for you. People don't look at you the same as you look at yourself. I spoke about this probably on my Christmas Day or Boxing Day podcast, so go and listen to them if you haven't. People see you, especially strangers, just as you are in front of them now. They don't go, oh, you've lost your hair. They're just like a guy without hair. It is relatively normal. I think that's why it's worse for women. Because especially, maybe the chemotherapy instance where there's no hair, it's not just a shaved head. Like nowadays, it is more frequent to see women with very short hair. Still not that common. So I think it is harder for women. But I think as men, we're lucky in that sense. So yeah, people see you and they don't care. They don't care if you've got hair or you haven't got hair. And I think it's mainly the people in our closer friendship circles where people can maybe take the mick and comment a lot. Like, I got so many comments about not having hair. I still do. People still. But now that I couldn't care less. I literally have this troll who messages me all the time. I don't know who he is. I've never interacted with him. He's like, I've restricted his account, but it just pops up every time. Like, he'll message me literally maybe once a month. Like, it's psychopathic, right? Like, I do worry about one day he'll just turn up at my front door. I don't really worry, but it's weird, right? Probably 2 years now. He'll just send me one of about 3 or 4 different messages. I've never replied. He's never seen that little scene thing because it goes into like the other folder. It's restricted or whatever, and Instagram says they will not see that you've seen it until you accept, approve, whatever. I don't know if you know how Instagram works. Anyway, but this weirdo, he always says to me something like, "Hi Martin, are you jealous of Joe Wicks because you're a baldy man?" or something like that. It's so weird. If you listen to my podcast, Lewis, get help, man. You're, a flipping heck. You're like, if you ever watched that program, what's it called? Not program, film, Whitney Houston, The Bodyguard. You know, the little pasty guy with blonde hair who's obsessed. Like, I imagine that's what Lewis is a bit like. But fortunately, he was never the baddie, was he? If you haven't watched the film Bodyguard, do yourself a favour, watch it. I was going to say something ridiculously harsh then. Just watch it, okay? Otherwise, you're a pointless human being. Not joking, but you are. Right, where was I? Yeah, so like obviously this weirdo on Instagram talking about baldy man, like, I couldn't care less. And again, that Irish doctor who was training to be a dietitian. If you're an avid fan, am I allowed to call people fans? Sounds a bit weird. Avid follower, whatever. You may have seen me post this thing of this abusive message I got from this this Irish doctor girl. I can't remember what, she was at an Irish university. I think maybe her university reprimanded her for this because it went a bit it went off on social media. Anyway, she said something about keep your shiny head point up in the pursuit of knowledge or something. Anyway, if you know it, you know it. Again, doesn't offend me. I couldn't care less. It genuinely makes me laugh, her whole tirade about anyway, just people using that as an insult, like, geez, it's so childish. But for some people, when they've just shaved their head and you're in their friendship group, it could hurt. But I think, again, a positive, encouraging message for anyone in this situation. Once you do it, there might be this period of change, but you will eventually own that look. It's a new look. It can be difficult. And it's a choice that's not your choice, it sucks. If someone who's like got hair and they're shaving it, it's like, oh, look, now I look like a badass. Cool, that was their choice. But if your hair's kind of been taken away by nature, it kind of sucks. It's not your decision. But just know this, that nature just wants you to look more like a badass, okay? And yeah, my tip, if you've got a baby face like me, just frigging grow a beard. Don't wait for however long I waited, because you join the beard club. That's another funny one, right? I grew a beard and suddenly it was like joining a cult. It was constant, literally for probably 1 or 2 years. Everyone was just like, beards are amazing, your beard's amazing, beards are great, welcome to the beard club, men with beards do it better. That's actually a hashtag that on TikTok or Instagram, one of the two. So anyway, there you go. So the other thing here is a bit of honesty. And I say a bit of honesty, I'm always honest, but it's just sometimes I wouldn't say stuff because I just don't want to lead people down the wrong path. Or, just too much information without being able to give full context to stuff. But I actually went and sourced some prescription medication, not through the usual means. And this medication is called Duasteride, I think is what I got. I think the drug is called finasteride, and it's is it an alpha reductase inhibitor? Maybe. Basically, it stops the hormone. So one of the reasons male pattern baldness is testosterone. So it may be that alpha reductase inhibitor. So testosterone is converted to something called DHT, and DHT is a much more potent, I guess, version of testosterone, which the problem is has an affinity for hair follicles. And so in men who are prone to hair loss, this will happen. Eventually, there's no way around it without taking this medication. So for instance, when men take steroids, or men and women, but when someone takes steroids or testosterone, so I guess when you say steroids, there's lots of different steroids with different effects, but so we're talking about someone injecting testosterone, they get massively more testosterone than a normal male would, and then there is more testosterone going to DHT. And so if you are prone to it, you will lose your hair. But people go, steroids lead to hair loss. But there are loads of bodybuilders who haven't lost their hair despite taking enormous amounts of testosterone. Because you need to be prone to hair loss for it to happen. Anyway, so this is the point of, like, again, the idea of, like, if you lose your hair, you're more manly or whatever, because you've got more of this DHT and these kind of things. But obviously that's a bit more of a correlation than an actual cause and effect. But we'll go with it. Hair loss makes you manly. Happy days. Another thing to celebrate. But so I took this medication, and I knew a friend who had used it, and he literally had gone from having hair like I did at the end to literally, and again, this is why I'm a bit like, should I say this or not? But it's what happened. And he had been taking it for 6 maybe years. And he said it took I can't remember, but a long time to happen. But his hair, before I knew this, I was like, you've got like a luscious head of hair. I obviously didn't say that, but like just such thick hair. And it's unbelievable, to be quite frank. And actually, I do believe that if you have a hair transplant, that they may prescribe finasteride to help you keep it, because you will still lose the hair after a hair transplant. Anyway, this isn't my expert area. I'm not recommending anyone necessarily do this. But what I will say is I got bad side effects. And and so I had to stop taking it. Most noticeable for me was my libido went down massively. Not something I wanted. And secondly, I also got only a very, very slight, basically I panicked, right? I knew my libido was a bit down, but I was like, I don't know why this is, who knows? You know, you kind of, libido waxes and wanes with, you know, your life cycle, you know, your stress levels, all these different kind of things. But I started to get slightly painful nipples. Now, and this is one of the, you know, it was listed on the information leaflet. And so that's the first sign of getting something called gynecomastia, gyno. And I freaked out. As soon as that happened a little bit, I just was like, hell no. I'm not getting this side effect that steroids often gives people. You know, and there's no judgment. You're not judgment, but you know, it's just like, it's, in my opinion, unsightly. I think most people agree that. I hope that's not a nasty thing to say. Obviously, people do get this from other hormonal disorders, issues. But anyway, so I started to get this. Essentially, it starts as pain, then goes to puffy nipples, then you get this gynecomastia. And I freaked out, so I stopped. And so that was it, my one chance of it. I also used Regain, which is the super mega expensive thing that you apply to your hair. And quite frankly, I don't know, remember this is an N=1, but the effect that Regain has was so crap. It honestly, you'd have to break the bank to get barely any extra hair growing, and just ridiculous. So anyway, don't bother with Regain, in my opinion and experience. There you go. I think I probably tried some shampoos with caffeine in them, to, you know, just whatever. So there you go. There's my life history. Where to go from there? Is there, were close friends honest in telling you that you should do it, whether you looked better bald rather than clinging on to it? Yeah, they were just more supportive. They maybe didn't say, I don't think anyone's ever just going to go shave your hair off. But to be honest, here's my thing, right? Okay, this is my take-home message. I'm sure it won't be the end of the podcast. But my take-home message is this. If you're not going to go down any route of trying to fix it, you know, transplant or anything else, my advice is this, is once you get to that point where you go, hey, it's only a matter of time, just flipping do it. You know, if anyone does it, flipping do it and tag me. And I'll celebrate your next transition. You're going from a butterfly to a flipping saber-toothed tiger. I was going to say caterpillar to a butterfly, but it's almost like, you know, butterfly with the hair, the prettiness, but now you're just a badass. But yeah, my advice is this. It is the next stage of you. Maybe, you know, if it's just going to be a progressive move towards that as you get older. Talk to people, you know, definitely don't do it like people are like, oh, you know, you should do whatever you want, never do what you know, you shouldn't have to ask permission from your partner, like chill out. You know, at least involve them in the flipping decision. That's what a partnership is about, no? Being a team. So yeah, talk to your friends about it, like. And maybe if you feel really worried about it, be open and honest. Just like, I'm really, you know, I had rich and I had nice friends around me and was supported with it. Anyway, so that's my advice. Just flip and go for it. People, like, as men, you're not stigmatized for it. Really. Not really. There'd be a bit of mickey taking. It sucks because your identity is around how you look and it's been taken away. That sucks. But it doesn't change who you are as a human, and it is just your next life stage, and it'll be no time at all until no one remembers the old you. People are always asking on my Instagram question boxes, like, show a picture of you when you last had hair and blah blah blah, and people are like, geez, and you know what, it's a funny one, right? Like, I post up pictures of me with hair and people are like, oh, you're like wine, definitely better with age and all this, that, and I'm like, do you know what, that's I don't care. But I'm like, that's a massive insult. I had hair most of my life and you're saying I was ugly in my 20s. Thanks very much. I'll tell you one thing, I do, and the problem is now I'm Insta famous, right? Not mega Insta famous, but a little bit. So I get a lot more female attention than I ever did before Instagram existed. But I think outside of Instagram, where people don't know me, I probably do get, I'm not really a head turner, let's be honest, but I probably do get maybe compliments on being good looking, maybe more now I have no hair. I don't know, but then I've got a beard, so then that's a confounding variable. Anyway, I'm just trying to provide some encouragement. But people go, yeah, you look terrible with hair, now you look great, so that's good. I'm like, oh, thanks very much. No, but I don't mind, but it's just funny. People do need to remember what they are saying when they say that. Especially, actually, if someone could possibly go back to that. Because it's like, geez, just don't say that. Just go, I think you look great now. People, they try and say nice things and fail quite often, don't they? Okay. How frequently do you shave it? That's an interesting question. That's another one for me, actually. This is, I mean, it's not interesting, let's be honest. You're bored by now. But how frequently do you shave it? I used to shave it as I think a 2. When I look back now, I'm like, are you okay, mate? Why on earth did you think that was a good idea? Now I literally shave it as short as I can with no guard. And I'm lazy, so I don't do it as often as I should. What a weird thing to say. But if I had more time, or I could just be on my phone while someone else shaved. I don't like going places and paying for it. It's ridiculous. But I reckon I'd do it twice weekly if it was optimal, but I realistically do it once every 1 or 2 weeks. Anyway, did you wish I did it sooner? Yes, definitely. Okay, that's the last question on that. Maybe when did you decide it was the right time? Did you consider any other ways to prevent it? Okay, cool. So there you go. That's that is really it. A bit of a so yeah. I'll just say again. If you thought this was of any interest to people, even if you're not personally affected by it or know anyone who is, share it round as an interesting perspective on men losing their hair. I'll do a post on Instagram again, as per usual. If you've got any questions or you found this motivating, please. I'm too nice, if I'm totally honest. Don't DM me. Obviously, if it's mega personal and you're going to say super personal stuff, don't. But ideally, I love the podcast. It really spoke to me. stick it on the comments thread as a small, tiny thank you for the podcast, simply because it means the post gets seen by a few more people on Instagram, and Instagram sucks with regards to reach these days. Right. Anything else to say? Losing hair. Maybe we'll do a thing on... I always get asked this, what trimmers do you use? What beard trimmer do you use? What hair trimmers do you use? What blah blah blah. Like, it doesn't matter. They're all the same, as far as I've used anyway. There are some fancy ones where you just like hold this like little ball and just rub it on your head. I've never used one of them, but someone told me they're rubbish. They're also mega expensive. I just use cheap things. Anything else? No. So I guess I'm going to call this one wisdom, a wisdom episode. And I'm just going to sit and think. Lucy will have to cut out the big pause, because I'm never going to revisit this topic, let's be honest. Okay, Lucy, this is where things should come back in. This is just a little thing to say. Like, I guess I've just connected some dots in my head, and again, just providing some insight. Is once you do it, at least my experience, obviously other people, I mentioned about that guy, but once you do it, you never have that thing of like, oh, I don't like this photo. I mean, that's the other cool thing. It flipping saves you a lot of time. You never have to do your hair again. My goodness, that saves a lot of time, especially because you start doing it a bit more, because you're trying to like cover recedingness, and you never overthink, oh, this angle, that angle. It's just like, boom, it's gone, happy days. Again, that was an issue for me, like the way lighting hit my head and it became shiny, or see through the hair, or if it was from the back or whatever. That's all gone. And so I think the most painful period is when the thinning and the massive receding, and you just overthinking that. It's like, flipping get rid of it. Once that starts being a pain for you, like, there's also this other thing of like acceptance, right? But in anything, if you guys maybe have heard me mention like the Stoics and Stoicism and Stoic type philosophy, and thinking of the worst, like once you sort of realize that bad things happen, the only thing that really knocks you off kilter is change, something that you didn't see coming, or change. And I always talk about differentials in my complexion podcast. Damn it, earlier when I said about the happiness and the Boxing Day and Christmas one, gratitude, it was actually the complexion one where I spoke about when people see you. So anyway, at that time, strangers, etc. So this thing of it's a constant downward trend, and it's like, it's the differential. It's that I didn't have hair, now I have less hair. Oh geez, now I've got even less hair. Oh geez, now I've even got less hair. It's that, and it's difficult to come to terms with. There's all of this kind of body acceptance, self-acceptance, but if your body's still changing, it's changes that people struggle with. When a woman goes through menopause, that perimenopause period, there's such huge changes, and some of those are within her body, and she may have become hugely body confident with however she looked, but then these changes then knock that consistency and how she views herself and loves herself and sees herself in the mirror. And even with that, I'm more than my body and my body shape and my weight, acceptance stuff. The change still knocks people. And so what I'm saying is once you get rid of that, by doing the inevitable and shaving your head. If you don't care, this podcast isn't for you, by the way. I'm not saying that people have to do this. That's just suddenly kind of jumped into my head. But of course, only a complete moron would think that. But I'm just wondering if anyone will comment that. And now I've said it, and now they're a complete moron because I also preempted them. But yeah, just get it done. Get it done, because you no longer have that differential. It's just bam, okay, I feel a bit self-conscious. I'm going to walk into the gym and everyone's like, geez, that's that guy who used to have no hair. No, he doesn't. But this is why I think maybe having more of an open conversation than I ever had with more people would be even better, because people aren't shocked. But anyway, you never have that differential again. Done. I am going to leave it there. Until next time, sending you all the love. I flipping hope this is recorded. What are we on? 47 minutes. How the hell have I done that? It's now 1:47 a.m. Good night.